Hi there. I'm very happy to be part of Global Entrepreneurship Week in Brazil. My name is Saraswati. I am a professor at University of Virginia's Darden Graduate School of Business. I have been teaching and researching entrepreneurship for the past 20 years. Before that, I had co-founded 5 ventures. I have done business in Germany, in India, and in Singapore. For those of you who are just starting out on your entrepreneurship journey, I have just 2 words that I want to talk about. The first word is act, and the second word is ask. So, in doing research in entrepreneurship, but also through my personal experiences, I have learned some lessons about crises. For those of us living in 2020, we actually think this is a huge period of crisis, a period of uncertainty when it's very, very unclear what the future will bring. But if you have been an entrepreneur or if you want to be an entrepreneur, one of the things you want to do is to start thinking about uncertainty differently. Uncertainty happens all the time. Uncertainty comes from the fact that we do not know what is around the corner, what the future will bring. But even more importantly, nobody quite knows, right? That is one of the lessons of COVID, that nobody in 2019, for example, could have predicted what we are going through in 2020. So when you're faced with uncertainty, when you're faced with crisis, how do you act? How can you decide what to do and what is worth doing without knowing what will actually succeed or what will actually work? So now when I go around the world and I talk about some of these things, I hear from potential entrepreneurs, people who want to be entrepreneurs, say things like, I would love to be an entrepreneur, but I don't have an idea. And what they mean is, I don't have a brilliant, extraordinary idea, right? Or they will say, I have an idea, but I have no money. I have no resources. So I don't know how I can, build a venture. And then people will also say, I would love to start and I think I have an idea that will work. I can get started, but I'm really afraid to fail. And all of these 3 things, as you can see, are connected with why people don't act. Sometimes they don't have the idea. Sometimes they have the idea, but they don't have the resources. Sometimes they have the idea and the resources, but are afraid to fail. So what is the lesson from entrepreneurship on this front? So the first thing you want to do is to understand that you don't have to have some kind of brilliant idea. You don't have to have a lot of great resources. And failure is something that you can actually do on a daily basis to manage. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do to keep the failures really small, to outlive them and put together little successes into a big success. So this set of lessons that comes from entrepreneurs we call effectuation or effectual thinking. And the way you act when you act effectually is you just start with who you are, what you know, and whom you know. You don't have to have a brilliant idea. You just have to have some kind of a venture that you want to do, that you can see a little bit that somebody might pay for it, somebody might want to be part of it, something that is doable and worth doing for you. So you act with just who you are, what you know, and whom you know. You don't have to invest any resources more than you can afford to lose. And what do you do when you act? What is the actual action you take? There are 2 kinds of actions you take. You either build something or you bring somebody on board to build something. Most ventures require you to bring other people on board to build the things that you are already able to build or able to imagine that you can build. But in bringing people on board, we come to the second word that I talked about, which is ask. So a lot of people can get the idea, okay, you're telling me I should just start with who I am, what I know, and whom I know. and I'm going to go out and I'm not investing any more than I can afford to lose. So I say, if I have 20,000 bucks, I'll put that in. If I don't have that, I'll say, you know what, I can take 3 months off of my work and I can work on this project, or I can say I will work only on Saturdays, however, whatever I can afford to lose, I start with that. But then you're telling me now I have to go and bring all these other people on board, and I don't really want to go and ask anybody for anything, right? So this is a very, very important. So even if you're ready to act, sometimes people want to act entirely alone. And entrepreneurship does not work that way. You have to bring other people on board. So in the case of acting, you have to act without knowing whether you will succeed or not. And similarly, you have to ask people without knowing what they might want in return, or whether they will say yes or no. And in many cases, you may not even know who they are and what to ask for, when to ask, where to ask, and how to ask. But here is the deal. By just simply going out and asking people, you know what, I am a new entrepreneur, I'm trying to do this. It would be great if you came on board. Can you tell me, what do I need to do to get you on board? So you don't have to have all the answers on how to bring somebody on board in order to go out and ask. So if you can act without knowing whether you will succeed or fail, but you can keep the failure within your control, so it is not a huge problem. And if you can go out and ask people without worrying too much about, what are they going to want in return, and how will I literally think about bringing people together to do something. If you can do these two things, you can do entrepreneurship. So today, ask yourself, what actions can I take, and who can I go and talk to and ask about things? You can ask for advice, you can ask for feedback, but you can ask for way more than that. You can literally ask them, come with me, and together we will build a venture together. We will build futures together. We'll change the world together. So my message to you is, however uncertain you feel, however you feel that the world is going crazy and that there's a crisis everywhere, still think about, given all of that, what actions can I take today? And who else can I talk to who might want to come and work with me? Irrespective of whether they have the resources or not, I just simply talk to anyone and everyone who is willing to come work with me. So act and ask. Do not be afraid to act. Do not be afraid to ask. Learn some techniques of acting in such a way that you can keep the failure within your control, and also learn some techniques of asking in such a way that even when somebody says no, they open new doors for you and give you new ideas and new ways of thinking about your project. So happy venturing, happy Global Entrepreneurship Week, and bye-bye from Charlottesville.